Hello, welcome to day 6 of the Learning Tree Reading Fair. And I'm Meredith McGee in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yes, hello. I am Vicki Jenkins, and I am a member of the Jackson Community Library, and I'm part of this reading fair. And I welcome everybody to join with us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Talia Hines. I'm 11 years old. I go to Jen Smith Elementary School, and I'm also a member of the Festival Book Club also too.
Okay. So Talia, you going first?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we can't see your book. I mean, you can gesture so we can see the book.
Okay. I'm gonna finish Judy B. Jones. She's gonna have one more page left for it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read Judy B. Jones and the Mean Jim's birthday.
Okay.
Okay. Chapter 9. The only one in room 9. Mother ran into my room. Pretending nails don't actually work. Judy B. Jones, what in the world are you doing in here? She shouted. She looked at my room. Her eyes were big. You were hammering? She yelled. You were trying to hammer nails in your door? Just then, Daddy ran into. What in the world you do with a hammer? He yelled. Tell him, Judy B. Tell your father where you got the hammer, growled Mother. I pointed at her. She gave it to me, I said. Just then, steam came out of Mother's head. No, I did not give you that hammer. Judy B., that hammer was for Jim. And you know it. After that, Mother picked me up and she sat me on my bed. She growled more mad words at me. They were, I could not be trusted to have another actually hammer, and I cannot be trusted to have a real actual tool belt. And I am never, ever allowed to have nails until I'm all grown up and I live in my own apartment. Dad's walking down in the front of me. Why, Judy B? Why would you do such a thing? Why would you ever try to nail your door shut? He said. I just started to cry a little bit. Because I said, because why? He grouched. Because I felt pressure inside me. I said, because the party is running by my whole entire Saturday. Because first I had to shop, and then Mother and I had to get a bath and wash my hair. Only I didn't even like that mean head boy. And so how come I have to get clean and give him that wonderful tool belt? Because what kind of deal is that? Mother did an angry breath. This is your discussion, Judy B, she said. You're the one who wants to go to the party. No one is making you do it. I wipe my nose on my sweater sleeve. Yeah, only if I don't go. If I don't go, I would be the only one in room 9, I said. And is the saddest story I ever heard. Dad sat down next to me. Why? He said. Why is it sad to spend your Saturday That way you want to spend it. Why is it sad to you to spend the day having fun instead of wasting it on a boy you don't like? Mother sat down too. That doesn't sound sad to me, she said Mother. That sounds good. In fact, no, that does not sound good, I said, very snappy. What is so good about being the only one? Dad, did you show the up and down lots of things? He said, like you. I've been the only one who doesn't have to take a bath. Have you ever thought of that? And you'll be the only one who doesn't have to wash their hair, said Mother. And said Dad, you'll be the only one in room 9 who doesn't have to give Jim a present. How about that one, huh? I sat up a little bit straighter. 'Cause that one was exciting, that's why. Mother's roughed my hair. And what about Grandpa Miller? She asked. She haven't forgot that he invited you to his house today, have you? Just then my whole mouth came open. 'Cause I forgot about this. The toilet, I said, I forgot that. Toilet. 'Cause me and Grandpa were going to fix that thing. And we're going to touch that big ball that flows on top. Mother made a face. Lovely, she said. I know it is lovely, I said. And so I have to get over right over there right now, or else Grandpa is going to be touching it and not me. Then Mother looked at me very strange, and Dad went to get his keys. Mother and Dad made me take the tool belt back to the store. They made me give it to the man. Here, I said, I cannot be trusted with the wonderful thing. The man smiled kind of sad. Sorry, sis, he said. That's okay, I said, because the nails didn't actually work that good. He gave me my money back. Maybe when you're older, he said. Maybe I'll say. Plus, also, I might get a toothbrush. After the store, I went to my grandpa's miller. He was working in his garden. I ran fast and Grandpa Miller, hey Grandpa Miller, did you fix it yet? Did you already fix the toilet? He twirled me around. Not yet, he said. Not yet, I didn't. I've been waiting for you. And so just then, me and him hurried up. And we got our tool and we run upstairs. Then we took the lid right off that thing and I flushed it all water right out of it. I touched the big ball. This is fun, right, Grandpa? Right. This is the time of our life. I said, sure it is. Of course it is, said my grandpa, Frank Miller. I laughed very happy. Very happy. Hey, Grandpa, guess what? I am the only one, I said. He looked confused at me. I'm the only one in Rome now who's fixing a toilet, I explained. Then Grandpa Miller laughed too. You're really something, he said. You're really something too, Grandpa, I said back. Then I hugged him really tight and climbed up on his lap. And I told him a secret in his ear. And guess what? I said, whisper. I said, look like a goat. The end.
Okay, that was the end of that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then. Could you give us a summary?
No. Well, about this book, about this Julie B. Jones book in the Me Jim's birthday. Judy B. Jones, she wanted to keep the tools and helmets and stuff because she wanted to help her grandfather fix things like when she normally do. And and I mean, Jim didn't give her an invitation card because she wanted to go, but then she thinks she should not go. So she actually took one of the students' invitation and said, "This is mine." But it was actually Crybaby Williams. Then Crybaby Williams told the teacher, and then the teacher gave it back to Crybaby Williams from Judy B. Then when Judy B and her mother went to the store, she saw this cool tool hammers, these tools with the belt, kind of like a picture right there, holding her lip, that she don't want to give it to Jim. And when she trying to nail her door, the rich one, she was trying to nail her door because she didn't want nobody to come in her room because she was mad and sad that she wanted to go, but she was the only person in room 9 that did not go to the party. She wanted to go, but then she said, I changed my mind. I want to go to Grandpa Miller's house. So she did, and then they fixed the toilet that they were supposed to fix.
Her and her grandfather fixed the toilet.
Ma'am.
Is her name Jenny and her grandfather fixed the toilet?
Judy B and her grandpa name is Frank Miller.
Oh, they fixed the toilet at his house instead of going to the party.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for that summary. Vic, are you next? Or you want me to go next?
Yeah, you go next.
Okay. Okay. Here I am. As brave as you, Jason Reynolds. Look how much I done read.
Huh?
I'm on page 40.
Okay.
I'm gonna read as much as I can. So then next time I'm gonna pick a smaller book. Okay. Now you know this is about Ernie and Jenny are the two main characters. They're two boys who went to Virginia for the summer with their grandparents, and they found Jenny found out his grandfather was blind, so he had a lot of questions about why he was the only one that didn't know that his grandfather was blind. And that's what happened in 40 pages. And now on page 40 at the top, as soon as they get outside, Samantha started barking like crazy. They both jumped a mile. Chill, Samantha, Ernie said, playing it off, trying to pretend like he didn't jump. Jenny had seen him, but let him slide anyway. Ernie popped the trunk and threw the suitcase in, which with all of the other junk their father kept back there. Spare tires, jumper cables, tools, a blanket, Daddy's emergency kit that he never used because they never drove anywhere at home. Samantha kept on barking and jumping, the chain around her neck snapping dust into the air. She sounded like Dad's Honda whenever the engine froze up in the winter. Ernie headed straight for the dog. Jenny held back. There were tons of dogs in their neighborhood back home. Had to be at least 10 just on their block. And we're not talking little courtesy, wordesy, yip dogs. We're talking big dogs. Dogs that walk down the street like bodybuilders. The thing was, Jenny knew those dogs. He had grown up with them, but he and this dog, Samantha, were strangers. She was all black except for the patch of white on her face and on each paw, but she had a pink nose. When Jenny asked Dad what kind of dog Samantha was, he just said she was a mutt. Grandma liked having her around so she know whenever someone was coming in the yard. As Ernie got closer, Samantha stopped barking and just panted, her tongue dangling from her mouth like taffy, spit flying everywhere. Come on, Ernie, called to Jenny. Her tail's wagging. She don't want to hurt us, man. He slowly stretched his arm out until the back of his hand was in front of Samantha's face. Samantha nosed it, sniffed, and settled down, leaving a wet streak across his knuckles. See, he said, scratching behind Samantha's ear. Just gotta let her smell you. Then she'll get comfortable. Bet she remembers me from last time I was here, from all the way back then. Jenny wondered if a dog's memory could be that good. Now, elephants, they remember all their family members. Maybe Samantha rolled over until her back and Ernie began rubbing her pink spotted belly. Yeah, but she ain't never met me before, Jenny said. He took a step closer. The screen door squeaked open and Ma and Dad came out, pausing to hug and kiss Grandma, who was promising that the boys would be fine, not to worry, and to really make the best of their time in Jamaica. Dad said they would. Ma didn't say anything, and to make sure to call as soon as they get back to Brooklyn. Boys, come give me my hugs, Ma said, headed toward them, arms out. Jenny went first, wrapping himself around her tightly as she rubbed the back of his head. Everything will be fine. You being here, me and your father, everything, okay? Jenny nodded. He wanted to believe her because she was pretty much always right. But this time, he wasn't so sure. Then Ma called Ernie over. You come give me some too, chump, she said. I know you almost 14 and everything, but you ain't too old to hug your mother. Jenny let go and Ernie came in for his hug. His wasn't as crazy as Jenny's, but it was real. Ma hated fake hugs or pat pats. Okay. Um, as she called them, that's when you just reach your arms around the person and pat them on the back, but you don't squeeze. Real hug, squeeze. Then Ma grabbed Ernie by the face and kissed him on his forehead. He twisted his mouth into a frown. She smiled anyway. Take care of your little brother. Got me? Of course, Ernie said. Ma knew he was well. Oh, Ma knew him so well. She could tell he rolled his eyes even though he had on his shades. I'm serious, boy, she said with some bass in her voice. Dad came over with his hand out. He gave Jenny five, then pulled him close. Then he grabbed Ernie. Y'all take care of each other. Remember, y'all are brothers. Understand? Yeah, Ernie said. You too, Dad said, looking at Jenny. Got me. Got you. Dad explained that he and Mom would be calling to check in, even once they got to Jamaica. Then he told them that he loved them. Then Ma said she did too. And then Grandma said she loved everybody as Dad and Ma got in the car. A straight up love fest. Samantha barked and barked as the car barked and barked until the engine finally turned over. The car was barking. Dad rolled the windows down and threw a hand up. Ma gazed at them, her eyes wet as the car off. The Honda turned over the hill. Samantha still barking, trying to chase it. But not snapping back by her chain. So Jenny chased it for her. She ran behind the car for as long. He ran behind the car until he hit the slope and began bumping down the bottom. The hill was so steep that it looked like his parents had just driven off a cliff. He tipped to the edge and watched the brake lights blinking on and off till they disappeared. So I finished chapter 2. Now I'm on chapter 3, page 45. Hey, Mary and Janice. Vicky
Hi.
Star.
Hello.
Hey, how y'all doing?
All righty. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Good.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
You're welcome.
Vicky's reading next, and then I guess you could read, and I guess Janice will come in when she gets situated.
Okay. Thank you.
Talion will read last. You ready, Vicky?
All right. I am on chapter 2, and it starts off with a walk to school on a warm August morning like today is not so bad. However, walking to school means I miss breakfast, which is no small price to pay. Avoiding the unpleasantness 1 hour is better than facing jeering students. At least I can gather my thoughts and enjoy the scenery for the time being. But peace and quiet will only be the last short duration of the walk. Because soon as I step into the Langley Public School, everything is different. For some reason, I walk through the halls. I feel all eyes are on me. Not just regular eyes, but eyes that talk and eyes that scrutinize me. Every inch. The eyes examine my clothes, my shoes, my height, my weight, my existence. The eyes judge me, compare me to themselves, and form opinions about me without even knowing me. Those same eyes begin to label me and categorize me, putting me in a group. Contrary to how the students at Hogwarts are placed, how the students of Hogwarts are placed in-house based their public bravery, chivalry, wits, creativity. These eyes are full figure and say, she's not skinny, Her shoulders are wide. Her hips are broad. Her shoulders are wide. Her legs are long. Her arms are big. Her feet are big. Her fingers are long. She is different and she's made funny. Let's laugh. Ha ha. Let's laugh hard. Let's laugh today. Let's treat her coldly. She will pick up the watch and pick it up later. See, I will pick up her watch and and watch her pick it up later. Laugh. Look at me. Look at her. Laugh. Don't you hear me? Did you see her? She feels so badly. I did it. You should have. Yes, I did. I made for a little. I am big. Laugh, 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 laugh. Ha, ha, ha. The eyes look at my skin complexion and say, I am high. I am not light enough. The eyes look at my hair and say, it isn't long enough. Eyes that aren't meant to talk have power to speak negatively. They create an unseen cloud that hovers over me, unseen but not unheard. She is too fat. She is so ugly. Why does she have to have those type of shoes on? No, not unheard. All the whispers can be clearly be heard throughout this atmosphere, and all like that, nothing without getting to know who I am. I know I must treat people for what I stand for. I am labeled an outcast, arriving just seconds before the last bell rings to get to my homeroom class, and it goes off. In front of Michelle, I feel her body eyes pierce through my back and take my notebook out of my book bag. And as I take my notebook out of my book bag, why did she have to come to school? Michelle asks, disgustedly, to come, no one in particular, but clearly wanting to know why, how displeasured she will be, because this is a public school that you don't own, looking like looking like a seed. Chucky, but your thinning hair. I swear one of these days I'm going to snap on one of those fools. I swear one of these days I'm going to snap on one of those fools. I extracted my pencil and my science study questions from my book bag, and I did not hear her. Suddenly, Mr. Stone, my homeroom and science teacher, walks in. The room instantly is quiet. Everyone knows that Mr. Stone is a veteran and current head of the coach of the boys basketball team. Doesn't play. Peering over his glasses, he sees the room in search of someone. Following his eyes, I see him land on one girl I'd never seen before, sitting in the far right corner of the classroom with a nod of acknowledgement. Mr. Stone clears his voice and gets attention of the class. Okay, guys, we have a new student with us today. Everyone is welcome. Jerica Thomas. Everyone's welcome, Jerica Thompson. She'll be joining us for the rest of the school year. All eyes are now on Jerica. Some of the class whispers must almost an audible hello, but she doesn't seem to mind all of the probing eyes. Kudos to her, because I didn't see any what I would have done in her place, in her position. Most likely, my anxiety would have gotten the best of me, and I would have to just hug my head and shut my mouth. But Jerica throws a wiggly wave and flashed half of her smile toward the class and looked back at Mr. Stone as if he's having an entire classroom look at her was normal. As cute as Mr. Stone announces in his deepest authoritative voice, students, please take out your science guide and turn to chapter 2. Just like that, Jerica is out of spotlight and everything continues as usual. How does she do it? Not the least bit bothered by the eyes of one's soul, by the eyes of one's soul in this room. I have seen quite a few students over the years, and one seems naturally fit. A spoiled cheerleader type, arrogant football player. Although Jerica wasn't ugly by any means, she didn't fit into the spoiled bratty. I think I'm all that category. She wasn't small. She isn't small. She is not big either. Her butterscotch complexion and her hair secured, sleeky and ponytail, and the nape of her neck made her look older, but youthful at the same time. She sported a slightly oversized sweater paired with black leggings and a pair of red and white Jordan Retro 11. Outfit screamed, I wear what I want to wear. I wear what I want to wear. She wasn't a black Barbie yet. She thinks that she held the pretty girl. She is still the pretty girl. Calm, collect. Calm and collect demeanor. She is not appeared bothered by what the people think about her And it's almost as though she was Beyonce and we were Bellhaven, and although she was Beyonce and we were Bellhaven, Beehive, everything about her excludes confidence. I'm truly impressed, and my eyes follow her. Higher class period. Pardon me? I'm impressed by my eyes follow her. Entire class period. Awkwardly, I get awkwardly, I get caught a couple of times, but I had become mesmerized by her grace and poise. And I'm not the only one. Desmond's eyes were used intently on the new girl. He was a quiet mouse. He did not pass any notes and did not drop any pens up on the floor, nothing. Who wants to read an answer to question number 5? Mr. Stone asked, scanning from volunteers. Desmond Snyder raised his hand and swirled his index finger in the air. Me. I'll read it, Mr. Stone. He was leaning halfway out of his desk with his arm raised high while moving them from side to side, anxiously trying to get Mr. Stone's attention. The gesture was little over the top, but it was only one with hands up, murmuring. Protest spread throughout the class. Was always when Desmond volunteered to read. Come on now, Jazz. Rio Grande, come on now, Jazz. Rio Grande shouted from the back of the classroom. You can hear all of the frustration. This voice from little of me. Because my classroom, we couldn't figure out. He was always wanting to read. When reading, he was clearly not his strong point. Yet Desmond is always eager to nominate himself for the task. When he overheard the class, regrettably, we would have to endure excruciatingly drawn minutes into him and study the I can't even say that right now. To study the over simple words he tried on, like sentences completed, and each time he would quickly followed by a big wide cashier cat smile, as if he had done a favor by getting for us his reading. His reading level was not laughing matter. He was a poor reflection of not only Desmond, but the school, the teaching, and the pencils. Personally, I feel like someone should be held accountable. Not simply because He reads poorly because he studies other students and have caused him to realize that he has to learn differently. Somewhat students are naturally smart. Others get it. Others just get it. A lot of students who can understand a lot of the material being even to us, because a lot of work like studying, researching, and shaking questions like to keep our heads above the water. And there is a student like Desmond who learns slower than most students. Sometimes because he doesn't apply himself as most of the time, because he reaches his capacity. I blame the higher up for it not intervening and investing in Desmond in intellectual growth. Without being said, I did not understand and know the world Desmond Snyder can walk in, and anybody can. How can a person with their own shortcomings look at me and feel like they can judge me? I don't get bullied. I will never understand how anyone on this earth can talk about somebody because it's all their difference. I can see anyone like better than others when there is much variety in the world. I feel I haven't found the answer to it. Finally, the bell rings for us to change classes. Gathering my belongings, I head out the door. I feel someone grab my arm. Turning around, I look at who it was that holding on to me. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to get your attention, Jessica said abruptly, letting go of her grip. You're good. Shrugging my shoulders, I move further in the hallway and let the other students pass us, since we are standing inside the doorway of the classroom. I was wondering if you could show me my classes today. Assuming we worked and talked on the same class. Of all students in the class, she chose me to ask about her classes. I must say, I would never have been genuinely honored by it. Just to next to her, to be actually talking to her, just ask her to take her shoulder and says, I'm lost for words. I could only shriek and pick up what was doing as she sparked something on me. Overly active imagination is full speed. Maybe it is of a few people like me who picks up on people's vibes. Many of us being drawn to me by an unseen force, which would lead to new and very much needed friendship. Since finding a true friendship is a rarity for me. My last so-called friend, actually pretty cool, Nicole Baxter, accepted me for who I am. I never had to present myself to be something I wasn't. Everything was fine and dandy until one day, out of the blue, and to start humming out of Michelle, I never felt so beyond in my life, so betrayed in my entire life. Not what Nicole treated me badly, anything, but now she went to befriend such a terrible person. Like Michelle was mind-boggling, and Michelle wasn't a good friend either.
Oh, are you at a stopping point? So, we can
Yeah,
get,
I'm at a
well,
stop.
well, I did want to say something about what you just read, you know, in the story. Hi, Ayana. Thank you for coming today. And also, Mary reads, and then you will read after Miss Mary. Okay, so Vicky, what you okay? Literally was bullied so bad she got off of the bus
Yeah,
and walked to school, missed her
yeah.
breakfast.
Because all of the children on the bus was talking so against her, or so she thought, was talking so against her, and the twins were so ugly with her in their and the way they talked and they acted. So she walked and got off the bus, and she walked. When the new girl came in, the new girl was the one who wanted to make friends with her. And that was how she caught up with the friendship. And she did bring to the fact that friends are hard to find. And who you
Wow.
like, and
And
somebody who she thought was very good friend, Nicole, betrayed her.
yeah. And
that-
Jasmine was the one who treated her the worst on the bus.
Yeah,
She said she was, you know, she smelled bad or whatever. I mean, they were so mean to her, it was horrible. But I
yeah,
thought
they
that
were
was
saying that she
bad
was
that the bus
seething,
driver let her get off the bus.
and they
They
called her
just let her sit
seething.
down.
Like I was saying, they called her seething. But well, never mind, because she dressed, bathed twice a day, and for some reason somebody said that they smelled something. Yeah, she was very much bullied. Yeah, because everybody was so against her on the bus, so that's why she had to get off and walk.
Yeah, they got on the bandwagon, the mean bandwagon that day. But anyway,
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that she had a little turn there. Someone reached out to her for help. I mean, you know, when everybody else is on Jasmine's team of being hateful towards her. But anyway,
And it all comes back to judge not, lest you be judged.
Right, yeah. Okay, so okay, Mary, you ready?
I can be. I'm ready.
Okay.
So I'll continue reading Uncle Hubbard and the Burlap Sack, written by Mary Hardy.
Okay.
And I'll read the last. I'll just start in where I stopped. Although time has passed, and I only get a chance to be around every once in a while, I can still remember the charming smell and the sweet taste of those muscadines. There were bunches of muscadines vines growing in the middle of the cotton field when I was little. My siblings and I really had to whack and wrestle and work our way through the weeds and greening cotton stalks to get those big purple wild grapes. And believe me, we were determined to get our faces and hands all sticky, smelly, and colored purple with those grapes. June
Mary,
bugs added a pleasant,
hey, Mary, can I ask you a question?
yes,
Now, my aunt has a blueberry tree, and it's like a tree. But how does what does a muscadine grow on? Does it grow on a tree or is it like a vine?
it's a vine,
Because you said it was
like,
in the middle of the cotton field. I was wondering about that. So in a vine like a grapevine.
yeah, just like a grapevine.
So it just runs
It just
on the
runs, yeah,
ground, on the ground.
runs and wraps, yes.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Okay. I
And
was
it was
just curious.
toxic,
Okay, I was
yeah.
just curious. Okay, thank you for that.
Mhm. Okay, so June bugs added a pleasant, lazy buzz to the summer air as they zimmed and zoomed and zapped around the bumblebees. Yeah. When I was finished with all my chores, I would occasionally catch a June bug, tie a string to its tail, and let the insect fly above me as I walked along the dirt road. Sometimes I would sit under a shady tree and let the June bugs fly about like a kite till it broke free and flew away. The happiness I enjoyed from green apples, sweet muscadine grapes, bumblebees, and siblings got even better when Uncle Hubbard came for a visit. When Uncle Hubbard came to visit us, it was always a cause for excitement and cheer. He did not live far from our house. I could see the house that belonged to my Uncle Hubbard and my auntie from where we lived. Papa's house was what his brothers and sisters called the house where my daddy, mama, and siblings lived. They called it that because they'd grown up there as children too. It was just down the narrow curving road from my Uncle Hubbard and auntie. Uncle Hubbard's house was near the main country road where the traffic of travelers that we saw flowed through the woods and down the gravel lane to the countryside. Uncle Hubbard was my daddy's big brother. My cousins labeled him as my most favorite uncle. When I told him so, he laughed and called me his most favorite niece. I could see him sitting on his porch sometimes, even from the window of our house. He could tell you who passed by at what time and what kind of car they were driving. My auntie, Uncle Hubbard's wife, was just as curious and just as observant as he was. I remember my Uncle Hubbard as a quiet yet jolly fella who made us laugh. He would visit us often in the morning or the evening. When my dad married my mom, she came to Southern Hall to live in Dad's house. Mama always made Uncle Hubbard feel welcome when he visited while she was making breakfast in the morning or when she was making supper in the evening. He never missed a day coming to visit our home, and he would stand near the screen door in the kitchen if the visit was during breakfast. He would watch my mother prepare breakfast, and sometimes he would drink a cup of coffee. Because my daddy was the baby of the family, Uncle Hubbard wanted to make sure that all was well and that Daddy had everything he needed to take care of the family. One of my favorite times with Uncle Hubbard was during the watermelon harvest one year. Watermelon harvest took place during the late summer, just before it was time to go back to school. Uncle Herbert came to pay us a visit, as he always did. On this particular hot summer evening, he shared stories about his day and his snuff, a powdered brown substance. He knew Mama did not approve of him dipping snuff, which he placed in his bottom lip. It made his lip protrude from the bottom of his mouth. He would give it to us, saying, "Oh, it is sweet," with a mischievous twinkle in his eyes and a smile. It was not sweet at all. It made us sick, and we would run to wash the taste out of our mouth with water or lemonade, while Uncle Herbert guffed with laughter. "I told you so," Mama would scold as she poured our drinks. During watermelon harvest, Uncle Herbert usually took a melon home to his wife and children, my auntie and cousins. However, during one particular harvest, his mule, who was called Old Joe, gave my Uncle Herbert the slip. The melon and the grain sacks were loaded on the mule's back when I found him eating in the cabbage patch later that day. When Uncle Herbert's voice calling for Uncle Joe, I stopped feeding the mule his cabbage and stuffed myself into one of the half-empty burlap sacks. I wanted to surprise my auntie and cousins with a visit, since I had not seen them during the day. By the time Uncle Herbert caught Old Joe, the sun was setting and the crickets were singing. I snickered a few times, holding my hands over my mouth, but I think my Uncle Herbert already knew I was in the sack, so he played along with me. So up the road with Old Joe and sacks of melons, vegetables, and a stowaway, Uncle Herbert slowly made his way from the field to his house, singing and whistling to himself all the way. It was a short trip down the narrow dusty road, so it wasn't long before we stopped. Uncle Herbert tied up Old Joe for the night and started taking off the sacks. The first sack he picked up to take into the house was mine. When he entered his house, my auntie and little cousins gathered around him to take the watermelons and vegetables out of the sack. They were surprised when suddenly I popped out of the sack instead of the watermelon. My cousins laughed at the surprise. Uncle Herbert made a big show of being shocked and wondering how his grain had turned into me all of a sudden. I smiled, saying hi to everybody, even though I must have looked a real mess, standing there covered with grains and hay. Uncle Herbert winked at my auntie and she shook her head and smiled. I played with my cousins a long while, enjoying the sweet bread and milk that auntie gave us. It was a great surprise visit, but soon there came a knock at the door, and in came my daddy to take me back home. He talked with Uncle Herbert and Auntie for a while, but soon he scooped me up off the floor, and we were both waving goodbye to everyone, while he carried me on his shoulder back home to Mama and my brothers and sisters. I told him all about my day and I had snuck into Uncle Herbert's burlap sack. And I think that's it. Oh, it was a very good day. Many years later, after I had my own children and grandchildren, I often looked back and wondered about those times in Sullivan Hollow. I asked my mother about that late summer evening. She told me that after I had jumped into Old Joe's feeding sack to hide, Uncle Herbert had passed by Mom and Dad that evening. He had let them know I was there in the sack, safe and sound. So you see, children, all was well right from the beginning, and it was still a very good day. And that's the end.
So you got, did your uncle pull the sack or you got in the sack on the back of his truck?
No, he had the sack. He came to get his mule. And he
Okay.
always would take a watermelon back home to his family. So instead of the watermelon being in the sack, I had crawled in the sack.
And he knew it.
And he knew it.
And he told your parents that you
That I
stuck
was
in
there.
there, but they
Yeah.
went along with it.
Right. So I don't know. If I had to write it again, I might write it a little different.
No, it was really a good story. Now you mentioned sweetbread. Was this something that at your house your mother made sweetbread?
My mother, yeah, she would.
How did she make the sweet? Did she put
It was
yeast?
it was just a plain cake, a plain sheet cake. Instead of just without the icing. If she wanted to do something quick, she'd make that sweet cake in a sheet pan, a sheet cake.
Oh, that's what you call a sweetbread.
That's what she called
A plain cake.
a plain sheet cake. Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking when people say sweetbread, that they're talking about some bread with some yeast in it. But I get you now. Okay.
Just a plain sheet cake.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Okay. So Ayana, it's you can go now and hold your book up for us.
I'm going to read the first chapter of Gone Crazy in Alabama by Rita Williams Garcia.
Gone Crazy in Alabama. How many chapters in that book?
A lot.
A lot.
Oh yeah, you just started. Okay.
I haven't read it yet, so I'm just going to read the first chapter.
Okay.
It's called It Takes a Licking.
It takes a licking? Okay.
Vonita, Fern, and I didn't sleep well last night or the night before. There's something about preparing for a trip that draws my sisters and me closer together than we already are. Maybe it's the planning and excitement of going places or seeing who we're going to see. As soon as we dragged our suitcases out of the attic, my sister and I race-walked along Herkimer Street and headed to Mr. Mac's store on Fulton to buy a bag of candy that would last the whole trip down south. We planned to fill our hands with different flavored Jolly Rancher sucking candy, wax lips, and pixie sticks, plus bazooka bubble gum to last the whole trip starting from Brooklyn, New York, then to New Jersey, all the way down to Georgia, and lastly to Alabama. Vonita was good at keeping track of things and divvying them up between us, so I let her be in charge of handing out the new state candy. Candy was enough to send Vonita and Fern over the moon, but it didn't mean the same thing to me. It was too hot for Mr. Goodbar, and a box of Good and Plenty only reminded me of watching movies at the RKO with Pop. All of that was different now that I share it with Mrs. But as long as Pa's wife stayed with us in our house on Herkimer Street, even after their fights, I gladly shared my father. We were about to go inside Mr. Mac's when 3 girls who had been in Vonita's 3rd grade class 2 years ago came out laughing and chewing on long red licorice. "Hi, Vonita," they all sang at her. "Hi," Vonita returned weakly. "Hi," Fern echoed, but louder. Then they saw Shade past us, the one wearing Vonita's watch, shaking her wrist around and around like a baton twirler, except there was no baton, just Vonita's watch. The watch Vonita had let her hold and never got back. She saw Shade and twirled her wrist and arm purposely so Vonita could see her watch. And when Vanita did nothing and said nothing, I got angry at her. I said, Vanita, go get your watch. Vanita tried to act like she didn't hear me, but I knew she did. Don't think I'm going to get it for you. No one asked you to. She tried to sound tough, like she wasn't afraid of me. Besides, I didn't want that old watch in the first place. Yeah, Fern said. She wanted a charm bracelet with ballet slippers, a heart, and a shamrock for luck. Not a stupid watch, Vanita said. All it can do is tell time. Tell time, take a licking, and keep on ticking, Fern said. Vanita sucked her teeth, licking and ticking. What's so special about that? I said, I'll give it to you. That's what's special about your watch. So, she rolled huge cow eyes at me. I didn't care what our mother Cecilia had told me about looking after Juanita. I wanted to knock her out. Then Fern said, yeah, so if it's special and she should have it, where's my watch? Fern planted both hands on her nothing hips and tapped her toe, doing her best Juanita impression. Turning 8 hadn't grown Fern any taller. It had just made her mouthy. Where's my watch? She repeated. Safe in my drawer where you won't lose it. Well, I want it, Fern said, and you can't keep it from me. If you don't cough it up, I'll tell Mrs. I shrugged. Tell Mrs. I'll tell her, and she'll tell you. Then Vanita, her alley, cleared her throat, fluttered her eyelashes, and finished in a voice as close to our stepmother's as she could mimic. Delphine, your sister is capable of wearing a watch. Capable was one of Mrs. words. She used it again to make me stop helping my sisters. Vanita is capable of doing her own hair. Then Vanita burned her ears with a hot comb. And who had to her best leaned on burned ears and finished the pulling hot comb through Vanita's thick head? Not Mrs. Fine, I told them both. And when you lose your watch, don't come crying to me. Boo-hoo-hoo, Fern said. Delphine, you better give me my watch when we get home. We left the house giddy and returned crabby. A giant sack of candy made no difference. I had chicken to watch, flour and fry, and a lemon cake to bake and frost. It all had to be done before I went to bed that night. Pa said we had to be up before the sun to get the first Greyhound down to Atlanta. From there, Big Ma and her neighbor, Mr. Lucas, would be waiting to drive us over the state line to Alabama to our great-grandmother's little yellow house that she sat just on the edge of Prattville on 20 acres that ended at a creek. Mrs. poked her afro into the kitchen to offer her help, but she looked as green as she had earlier that morning. Pa said it was the summertime flu, but I knew better. There's no month-long flu, summer, winter, or otherwise, I said. No, thank you, I'm almost done. Mrs. seemed grateful and went back to the sofa to lie down. I preferred my sister's company in the kitchen, but we weren't exactly on speaking terms, which was hard to maintain because our voices either followed or lay on top of one another's for as long as I could remember. We spoke almost like one person, one voice, but each of us sang our own part, kind of like those records Cecilia used to play with the singer's voice, chatting and scatting like a horn, piano, and bass. Or like Pa's old doo-wop records with duos and trios that went high, higher than low. We've been laying our voices down, chatting and scatting, and following variations of the same notes for so long, we didn't always know we were doing it. But others noticed. The way we flowed in and out of our words drove Mrs. crazy, and she'd give us the eye like, cut it out. You're individuals, she'd say. One complete thought for each complete person. But then you're used to speaking as one. It's hard, but when you're used to speaking as one, it's hard to stop just because someone is under your roof and says stop. As I whipped, beat, and stirred the lemon cake batter, I missed hearing my sisters' voices and having them around me. Vanetta, Fern, and I could afford to have our little scraps. Closing the door behind us and stomping away, didn't mean a thing. Sooner or later, Vanita or a friend would open the door to my room, or I'd open the door to theirs. My sister and I might quarrel, but we didn't stay mad or gone too long a period from one another's sight. Heaven knows we've had our share of long gone, like our Uncle Darnell, who left us after he had stolen from my sisters and me. I knew it was his fighting in Vietnam that made him turn to drugs, and I knew it was the drugs that made him steal from us. I didn't know how much I'd miss him when he left. It seems every time the door to our house on Herkimer Street is slammed shut too hard, pictures flash before me. Pictures of Cecile, our mother, leaving back when my sisters were barely walking and when I was 4 years old. I've been dreaming a lot lately, kicking the covers every which way. I've been dreaming, running to the door to keep it from closing hard, to keep footsteps from walking away. But as long as my legs are, I never get to the front door fast enough. As strong as my arms are, I can't keep Cecile from leaving, Uncle Darnell from leaving, Big Ma from leaving, or Mrs. when she's mad. I can't stop the dreams. I can't stop seeing the open door and the footsteps.
Thank you. The name of that chapter was It Takes a Lick.
Yeah.
So why did they name the chapter It Takes a Licking?
I'm guessing because in the beginning they were going to get candy and they were gonna get Jolly Ranchers, and it takes a lot of time if you're just gonna like suck a Jolly Rancher. So that like if they weren't going to get candy, you wouldn't really get the beginning of the story.
Okay, so did somebody mention a watch in the story?
Yes, her sister, her 8-year-old sister has a watch, but the older sister keeps it in their drawer, and so that's how we figured out that they fight sometimes, because she was always looking after her sisters, and since their new mom has to let them know that they're capable of doing stuff without her, she kind of gets a little bad.
Okay. Now, what grade are you going to next year?
I'm going into 4th grade.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing, and you may have time to read a little more after the next reading. Now, Charlie, you're next, right? And you and Ayana, y'all met each other in the poetry contest or something before, right?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, Charlie, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm gonna finish reading Trouble at Table 5
Okay. What chapter?
by Tom Watson. I'm on chapter 7.
What's the name of chapter 7?
Let's do this thing.
Okay.
I was in mommy. You're not a very scary looking mommy, Rosie said. And Planet. She needed to catch her breath a little bit from laughing. There are very many mommies who are 4 feet, 2.5 inches tall. I added, catch my breath too. It will have to do, Rosie said, giving her head a visual nod. Besides, we're not doing this to make you look scary. We're doing it so you could get into trouble. Right? I said, you stay in here while I'll find if Simon is ready. Rosie said that begins to push the bathroom door open. You can't be standing out in the hallway like that. Once you step out this bathroom, it's mommy time. I nodded my head, mommy head. Rosie went out in the hallway. I could hear her talking to Simon. You ready? She's asked. Ready. Did the nail clip work? Totally, Simon said. I could see him put a figure. He was lifting a foot up to show Rosie the bottom of his flip-flop. They cut the head off and thumbtack perfectly. I put a little dab of super glue on it and stuck it to the bottom of my flip-flop. Easy stuff. I got some super glue between my fingers, but that was the only problem. Awesome, Rosie said. I'll get Molly. Rosie stepped back into the girls' bathroom. The second she saw me, she slapped her hand over her mouth and smirked at another laugh. Don't laugh. I can't help it, she said, taking 3 seconds to control herself. Simon, ready? Are you ready? Number 1, take the sharp piece out the thumbtack. Number 2, put super glue on the thumbtack. Number 3, put the sharp thing away. No, put the end of the tap of the thumbtack onto the flip-flop and keep the sharp part. Nodded my mummy head again. All right then, Rosie said, and I leaned down to pick up my book bag. She was really careful putting my arms through the straps deposited on my back. She didn't want to tear the toilet paper up. Feel okay? She asked. Yeah, Rosie said. Let's do this thing. And then we did that thing. Chapter 8. When I stepped out of the bathroom, Simon made the funniest sound I ever heard. It was like he's laughing, snorting, and coughed at the same time. His whole body shook terrible and confusing. He just held it in a laugh. He held in the biggest laugh he ever had. He wanted to laugh in his entire life. Shh, Rosie said and giggled. Shh. I'm trying, Simon said and squealed, his arm around his belly like he was hugging himself very hard. I'm really trying, Rosie said. You better get moving, Molly, before Simon passed out. I raised my arm in front of me, mommy style, and started down the hallway. I needed to pass the 3rd grade classroom and the 2nd grade classroom before I would walk past the principal's office. Make some ground noise or something, Rosie said as I took my first step. Well, being a few minutes behind you, I started growling. I walked past the couple of 3rd graders' classroom. I started to pass the 2nd grade classrooms. But that as far as I made it. I heard a door open behind me. It was Miss Brooks, a 3rd grade teacher. What in the world? She said. I heard her heavy footstep approaching me from behind. She took a hold my left elbow and she reached me. You can stop growling now, Miss Brooks, shaking her head. I stopped growling. And when I did, Miss Brooks accepted the thing I wanted to hear. You're coming with me to the office. We'll see what Principal Sheldon has to say about this. I was one step, actually several mommy steps closer to count those skills. It has to work. I thought to myself, it has to work. You read more than 4,320 words. You must be super close. Chapter 9, inside the principal's office. Principal Shelton stood behind me, leaning back against the front of her desk and sat awkwardly in a chair. Some of my toilet paper had torn as I sat down. She didn't look really mad, to be honest. She wasn't happy. That wasn't for sure. She looked kind of angry and assumed all mixed up together. She started down explaining me from my mummy feet to my mommy's head. I think she was trying to figure out who I was. Whenever I got the chance, I peek around the side and her eyebrows, that big jar of Skittles. It was the right where I saw it at the first time. I could wait to count those. You know, there is not a very struggle for mommy, Principal Shelton said. I know, I answered, and I don't think mommy to technically wear backpacks. I nodded my mummy head. She walked behind her desk and received a garbage can and replaced it to my chair. As she did, I heard the main office door open and close. I heard Rosie cough and cough a little. I think she was trying to signal me. Rosie wanted me to know that she and Simon were there. All right, Principal Shelton. Let's see. Let's find out who are you, mommy. Find out who are you, mommy. I started to tear at the toilet paper around my head. Molly? Principal Shelton cried. She was absolutely surprised. Molly Dustin. I nodded my non-mommy head at her. I took my backpack off and put it on the floor. I needed it to be easy to reach when the time came. And the time was coming soon. I could hear Simon and Rosie talking with Miss B. They seemed to stalling for time. They asked Miss B about her dog, Bingo. Bingo is a bingo, and Miss B really likes to talk about Bingo. She has pictures of Bingo tabs all around her computer screen. I turned off the toilet paper around my arm and stomach and dumped the tissue paper into the trash can. Principal Shelton just stood there above me. She didn't say anything. I was just getting to the toilet paper on my leg, and I heard Rosie ask Miss B if we should borrow some masking tape. Ow! Simon screamed from the main office. Oh man, that hurts so much. Principal Shelton snapped her head towards the door. Simon was instantly stepped into things. Principal Shelton out of her office kept working it on Molly. She said, I will be right back. Chapter 10, it hurts so much. What's going on out here? Principal Shelton called as she went out of the main office. I stepped on a tack, Simon explained, and it hurt so much. I leaned back into the chair and looked out the doorway. Miss B and Roses kept in front of Simon and held his foot up from them to see. I could see the thumbtack top on the bottom of his flip-flop. It sure looks like very thumbtack stuck all the way in. But I knew that wasn't true. I knew the top was glued there. Simon had clipped off the pointy part with the nail clipper back in the boys' bathroom. Ooh, ow! Simon growled some more. In pain, and Principal Shelton leaned down to look at his foot. Now was my chance. I didn't have much time. I unzipped my backpack and pulled out the mass jar of Skittles of Rosie, and I had emptied the jar the day before that we have done without the school snack of raspberry jam on toast. We got the rest of the jam out by running hot water into the jam. While we did that, Simon ran to the grocery store and bought a bunch of Skittles. He dropped them off at my house before going to the soccer practice. Rose and I filled the jar also on the top, just like the jar in Principal Shelton's office. Then we put it in my book pack. I looked out of the main office. Rosie, Miss B, and Principal Shelton were hustling around Simon. He growled again and yelled, "No, don't touch it!" I trapped our jar from the jar on Principal Shelton's desk. I put her jaw into my book bag and zipped it shut. Then I started unwrapping the toilet paper from my calf and ankle. Say,
Tanya,
we
when you finish chapter 10, use it as a stopping point.
okay.
Okay.
Unwrapped the toilet paper from my calf and ankle. Okay, I heard Principal Shelton say, we don't want to touch it. Go see the school school nurse. Rosie, you go with him. I leaned back and peeked out the door.
Is that it for chapter 10?
I have one more page left. Then
Oh, go ahead.
I saw Rosie help Simon up his chair and short of walking, lipping out of the office. He's pretty good actor. Principal Shelton came back to the office. What is this day? She mumbled to herself. As she returned, I got Mommy walks the hallway. Students step on a sharp object. What's next? She sat down on her desk and looked across at me. It's time to call your parents, Molly. That was okay with me. I had Principal Shelton's jar of Skittles in my backpack. Now I had to do was count them. Only 2 more chapters to go. How are you feeling? And I'm gonna stop right there.
Okay, Tanya, you read 5 chapters. Can you tell us the trouble that happened in each of the chapters? Like a brief summary?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So while Rosie and Molly was in the girls' bathroom, Rosie was trying to put tissue paper all over Molly so she could pretend to be a mommy. And when they got done, they went outside. Molly started acting like a mommy. She passed the third grade class and the 2nd grade class. Then Miss Brooks came and saw Molly dressed up as a mommy. So Miss Brooks told Molly to go to the main office with her, then go to Principal Shelton's office. So she did. She sat down. Principal Shelton looked at her and trying to see who was this person. She did not know it was Molly the whole time because Molly had curly hair and her hair was shown. And her hair was showing. So Principal Shelton put a trash can right by the chair, told her to take all the tissue paper off for her to see who it was. So she gasped and she said, Molly Dustin? Then when she saw it, then she heard Simon yell, ouch! That hurt so much. But actually it was not her after he didn't put super glue at he took like the sharp piece off the thumbtack and just used this piece right here to put super glue on the bottom of his flip-flop. So he won't get the actually real nail and stuck it in his foot. So he put the real sharp object into the boys' garbage in the garbage can so they won't find evidence. So then they called. So Principal Shelton told Rosie and Simon to go to the nurse office. So they went to the nurse office and they tried to see what's wrong, but actually they really didn't go. They went back to the bathroom and he put his original shoes back on and they went back to class. So Molly got her parents called, and then when school was over, her parents had told her, Molly, why did the Principal Shelton have to call us about your behavior at school? Because Molly, she never got in trouble in school. That was just her first time getting in trouble. But only Simon normally gets in trouble. But Rosie does, because Rosie very smart. Molly is very smart and Simon is very funny and smart. So yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Tanya. Now, Hey Janice, thanks for joining. So we have about 15 minutes left. So Janice, you want to read a couple of pages, and then Vicky, you can read a couple of pages, and then Ayana, and then Charlie, and if we have time at the end, you'll go last, but with Janice, a couple of pages, Vicky, and then Ayana and Charlie Ann. And I'm gonna skip to tomorrow because I want to hear you all story.
Hello, it's good to see everybody. Ever
Good to
since
see you.
you've been on,
Hello.
I've been working with the tech. And finally, the tech was able to get me with new devices installed while the communication was still going on. So I'm happy, though it's at the end of everything. I enjoyed the presentations as well. As a
Oh, you did get to
follow-up,
see them?
yes, good to see you. As a follow-up of your question on yesterday about Aretha having been part of the Motown business, no, she was not. And so that comment I made was accurate, but she was with Columbia Records. And after leaving Columbia Records, she went to Atlantic Records. And then in the end, I think it's Avista. That may not be the correct name, but it's something with
I know
an
what you're
A.
talking about. I think Arista.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll be able to tell you that on tomorrow. But this artist was complicated and loving and giving. Her faith in Detroit and its people is what I will remember as much as her voice is what Debbie Dingell, U.S. Representative for Michigan's 12th District, said about Aretha. And I see that this person is still communicating with me, so I'm going to say thanks so much. Pardon me for that.
Okay.
Anyway, on yesterday, I was sharing with you Aretha in Detroit and how she kept alive what was going on there in Detroit. At one point, she did move to California, but during the illness of her father, she returned to Detroit. The celebrated and the uncelebrated danced to the Queen's music, cleaned house to the Queen's music, laughed, cried, made cornbread and greens to her music, break up, make up, dream dreams to her music. And this was said by Presetti Ellis, First Lady, Greater Grace Temple. Can you see Aretha?
Yeah, I can see a young Aretha.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning with the new computer what I need to do. Here is Aretha again.
That was 69.
Yes, 69. One Lord, one faith, one baptism. I didn't cross the line. Gospel goes with me wherever I go. Gospel is a constant with me. I just broadened my musical horizons. And of course, that's the voice of Aretha Franklin, Sacred to Secular Music.
That was Smokey Robinson.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
His little sister is what he referenced her as.
Yeah. And he was with Motown the entire time. Yeah, he wrote
Yes,
about
that's
the music.
right. Exactly. And of course, there's a photo here of Aretha arriving in Stockholm in 1968 with the godfather of soul, James Brown. She's here Let's see, he must be on the other page.
Okay. Getting out of a jet.
Yes, and you know, she had a fear of flying as something happened, and she just continued doing what she had to do by motor, ground motor. And so that's her with
Yeah.
James Brown.
Now that's a precious picture. The king of soul with the queen of soul. Yeah.
Yes, and of course, this part too of her life talks about her reinventing herself.
Yeah, she did that.
Mhm.
In the
Yes, she
80s,
could-
I think.
Yes, as she continued to make her strides.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do, to remain relevant as an entertainer.
Right,
Yeah.
that's right. You know, she said originally that she did not know what she was going to be, but she was persistent with her artistry. And so she's moving forward. She could create a picture any way she wanted. Aretha's prodigious talent couldn't be contained by a single genre. She listened to all kinds of music and had a great curiosity about what was current in any given time. And her interests helped create her artistic direction. Still, it's one thing to admire Luciano Pavarotti, but quite another to fill in for him as she did at the 1998 Grammy Awards. She had a gospel component to her work, but there was another side, an emotional side that she controlled through her singing. Songwriter Dave Porter said, she could take a word, a single word, and imbue it with so many degrees of meaning and shading that it would connect with the listener and impact them directly. She was tremendously gifted in her word imagery talents. She could create a picture any way she wanted. Aretha was inspired when her friend Sam Cooke crossed over from gospel to pop stardom as his song, You Send Me, topped the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B charts in 1957. She'd recorded in 1968. 4 years after Cooke's death at age 33. She knew Sam from her touring days on the church circuit and his visits to the Franklin's Detroit home, and had a lifelong crush on him. The mere mention of his name made her blush, even in her 70s, even into her 70s. Cooke tried to convince Reverend Franklin to let Aretha sign with his label RCA, but they held out for Columbia Records. Once Columbia's eminent talent scout producer John Hammond heard her demo, it was a done deal. He considered her the greatest voice he'd heard since he discovered a 17-year-old Billie Holiday, nearly 3 decades earlier. Columbia saw her potential as a crossover artist when they signed her in 1960, pairing her with a number of band leaders, arrangers, and top session musicians to record standards, vocal, jazz, show tunes, R&B, and blues. Her secular debut was Aretha with the Ray Bryant Combo, and she reached the top 40 for the first time with Rockabye Your Baby with the Dixie Melody. In the late 1960s, she covered Tin Pan Alley, songwriters such as Irving Berlin, How Deep is the Ocean, George Gershwin and Irving Caesar Swanee, Oscar Hammerstein, and etc. After 6 years with the label yielded minimal success, she departed for Atlantic Records, courted by label partner and producer Jerry Wexler. I'm just skipping about because there's so much here about Aretha in the interest of time. But then she went on with Respect, which elevated her to the Queen of Soul and netted her the first 2 of 18 Grammys. She turned Otis Redding's original into an anthem with ad-lib lyrics, catchy syncopation, and her backup singers, unconsecrated tabernacle whooping, all supporting the indelible power of her delivery. And I remember reading somewhere from another source many years ago when Aretha was running around singing respect when Otis Redding was alive. He said the little girl ran away and stole my music.
Oh,
He
yeah.
admired what the little girl was doing. And of course, we all know that Aretha credited Otis Redding. She never did say that she was the one who started respect, that it was Otis Redding's song. And so that was a wonderful thing about the Queen of Soul.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I think I
I
probably
didn't
need to
remember
stop
that
here.
I didn't remember that it was Otis Redding's song myself. I guess that was before my time.
Yes, Otis Redding.
I know him, but I didn't know he did the song first. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, indeed. Mhm.
Uh-huh.
He did it.
Okay,
And,
well, thanks.
of course, Aretha sang it for decades, and there were so many people thought that she was the original, but she did her Aretha Franklin version of it.
Right, and it was, she took it over. Yeah, well,
She took it over.
thanks for that. So we just got a few minutes left, and so Ayana, you can read us a couple of pages from your chapter, and we'll let you end it. You just read us a couple of pages and just give us a
Yeah,
summary.
she can
of what you
end it.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll pick up tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. And Friday we have our
Wednesday.
boogie big Janice down there.
Tomorrow is Wednesday. You getting the day right? Tomorrow is Wednesday.
Tomorrow is Wednesday. I'm ahead of time. With Friday we have our boogie big Janice.
Yeah,
You
tomorrow
like
is
me doing
Wednesday.
so much.
Okay. All right. Okay, yeah.
The second chapter of the book is called On the Road.
What's the name of it?
On the Road.
On the Road.
The bus was like Pa said it would be. More kids traveling down south than adults. Half of the travelers wore blue and white t-shirts that declared them Young Saints of Shiloh Baptist from Queens. Ours was a double-decker bus, which was exciting in itself. We had never been on a double-decker bus, and we all said, I want to go up 3. The bus driver, a man older than our father, but not as old as Big Ma, stopped us. Bunch of teenagers up there. Young ones, stay where I can see you. Plenty of seats down here. I started to tell the driver I was 13 and could watch my sisters, but Vonetta told him, you can't drive the bus and keep an eye on us. Then I said, shut your mouth, Vanita. And as if Big Ma had been poking me in the back, telling me what to say, I added, sorry, sir. And we moved down the narrow aisle to join the Young Saints. My sisters sat together on one side of the aisle, and I sat across from them in the aisle seat, next to a boy about my age. I geared myself up for some conversation, mainly practicing to talk to a real teenage boy. But he closed his eyes almost as soon as I slid into the seat next to him. That was fine with me, although some conversation would have been nice. Besides, I would get all the practice I wanted in talking to teenage boys when we got to my great-grandmother Ma Charles' house. My cousin Jimmy Trotter would do, and I hoped he felt like talking. I hope he wasn't sad and quiet like he was when we left Alabama 3 years ago. But I'd understand if he was. The plan to dole out 1 piece of bubble gum, 1 Jolly Rancher sucking candy, and a Pixie Sticks for every state we entered fell apart before we reached the middle of Virginia, but that was all right. I glanced over at my sisters. Vanita erased and filled in her crossword puzzle. Fern read Charlotte's Web. I didn't know how much longer they remained fuss-free, but I was grateful for their good behavior and plowed onward when things fall apart. I'd been saving my books since Christmas, waiting for a long stretch of time that didn't include bickering sisters, a heap of chores, and homework.
Okay. And is that part of your summer reading, or that's just a book you found at the bookstore?
This is a book I found at the bookstore, but I think that's where I'm just gonna stop.
Okay, okay. What will you be joining us tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. Well, I've enjoyed it. Victor's reading Lily Darling. Lily has some serious bullying issues. Janice is reading about Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, and I've been reading As Brave as You, and I'm now on. Tomorrow I will be on chapter 3, which is page 45. Vicky thinks she might be able to finish her book at the end, but I won't be able to finish. Maybe Ayana might finish her. I know Janet's gonna be able to
There,
finish
I counted the chapters. There are 46.
46. Oh yeah, that's a big book there. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I hope you get to the end so we can hear the ending. If not, you can read some at the book club meeting, which is in August. Okay, well, until tomorrow, you all have a wonderful evening and happy reading, and thanks for reading.
And thank you so much.
All right. All right, see
You're
y'all
gonna
later.
work it out.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.